Are you one of those people who has never seen an F1 race before, but seeing the hype in recent times, you're curious to give it a shot? Or maybe you are eager to watch but do not know where to start? Well, then you are in the right place now. Hello, everyone. This is Reema, and you're watching Offside Opinions. In today's video, we'll try to break down Formula One in the simplest way possible. So, even if you have never seen a race before, you leave this video almost ready to watch the first F1 race of your life. Are you ready? Let's go. Starting with the absolute basics. Formula One or F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport and is arguably the most popular motor race competition in the world, where some of the best drivers race in some of the fastest and most advanced single seater cars. So, before we proceed any further, why is Formula One called Formula One? Well, the formula part. That's basically a set of rules regarding the car design, the engine, the components used in the car, and many other things that every team must follow. And the one, well, that one simply refers to the fact that this is the premier or the most important formula. So that is how it is called Formula One. At present, a total of 10 teams and 20 drivers participate in F1, with each team fielding two cars in the competition. Each F1 season features multiple races, which are held worldwide, and each race is known as Grand Prix. The 2025 F1 season will have 24 races taking place from March to December. Now, these races are mostly held either at street circuits or at classic tracks. So, you now must be wondering, what's the difference between the two? Well, let me explain. So, when F1 races take place on public roads which are closed off and prepared for a race weekend, that race is said to happen at a street circuit. Whereas classic tracks, well, these are mostly purpose built circuits. That is, they are permanent racetracks which are specifically built to organize motorsport events like F1. Now, each race has a set number of laps depending on the length of the circuit, and whichever driver completes all the laps in the least amount of time is the winner. Okay, so now let's move on to more interesting things. How does the competition in F1 works? Well, like in every other sport, the main goal is to win. So F1 is basically an individual sport and a team sport rolled into one. The drivers are fighting for the F1 Drivers' Championship, whereas the teams are fighting for the F1 Constructors' Championship. The point system is very simple. The drivers earn points based on their finishing position in every race. The top three drivers in every race end up on the podium and they receive a trophy. So the current F1 system awards points to the top 10 finishers. So winner gets 25 points, then 18 points, then 15 points, and now as you can see how the other 7 drivers are also awarded points in a descending order. Ultimately, the drivers' championship is awarded to the driver who earns the most number of points through the course of the whole season. Now, each team is also earning points after each race depending on where two of their drivers finish. And the team which ultimately earns the most number of points is the Constructors' Champion. Not that difficult, right? Let's now understand how a race weekend works. So, the standard F1 race weekend takes place over 3 days, typically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, there are two free practice sessions, and on Saturday, there is one free practice session. These are called FP1, FP2, and FP3. So, what are these? Well, as the name suggests, practicing before the main race. So, what are these sessions for? The teams usually want to take advantage of these free practice sessions to understand about the performance of the car, gather data on how the different tire compounds are working on that particular track, about whether there are any need for any setup changes to their car, etc. etc. And drivers also utilize these free practice sessions to familiarize themselves with the track layout and the track conditions. On Saturday, after the final free practice session, that is FP3, drivers head into qualifying. So, what is qualifying? Qualifying basically determines which position each driver will start from on the main race day. Qualifying is divided into three parts: Q1, Q2, and Q3. So all the 20 drivers participate in Q1, but the slowest 5 are eliminated. Then the top 15 fight in Q2. Again, the slowest 5 are eliminated, leaving the fastest 10 drivers to compete in Q3. And ultimately, based on their positions in the final qualifying session, that is Q3, that decides from which position they will start from on the race day. And the driver who sets the fastest lap is called the pole sitter. And on Sunday, it's time for the main showdown, the actual race, where the drivers compete against each other to win points and grab a spot on the podium. Well, recently there has been a new feature in F1, which is called the sprint. So, what is it? The F1 sprint is basically a short race before the actual race, but it only takes place on certain race weekends. So while majority of the race weekends are the typical traditional F1 weekends which I just explained, certain race weekends feature the F1 sprint. So the free practice session 1 on Friday takes place as usual. But the free practice session 2 on Friday and the free practice session 3 on Saturday, these two are replaced by sprint qualifying and the sprint race. And as the name suggests, I am sure you will pretty easily understand what the sprint qualifying is. It basically determines where each driver will start from for the sprint race. And as the main qualifying, the rules are exactly the same. And then, as usual, the qualifying for the main race takes place like it would on any other race weekend. And on Sunday, it's the main race. So, this is the basic difference, nothing else. But sprint races also award points. So, top 8 drivers are awarded points, starting with 8 down to 1. In 2025, 6 sprint weekends will be organized. And the venues for these sprints are usually tracks which have a great overtaking potential. Now, a few other interesting things. So, we are talking about car racing. So, definitely, we need to talk about tires. So, let's quickly have a look at the different tire compounds that are used in F1. So, in dry racing conditions, teams can choose from three different type of tire compounds: soft tires, hard tires, and medium tires. These are also called slick tires. So the soft tires are the tires which provide the maximum amount of grip, which are the fastest, but are most likely to also wear out or grain faster than the other tire compounds. The hard tires, they provide the least amount of grip, but are in working condition for the longest period of time. And the medium tires, well, by the name itself, I think you can understand. It's the one in between. So they are usually slower than the soft tires, but faster than the hard tires. But they usually last longer than the soft tires, but not as long as the hard tires. Well, there are two other tire compounds as well: the wet tires, which are for racing in heavy rains, and intermediate tires, which are in conditions where, let's say, the rains have stopped, but the tracks are still wet, there's some standing water still. In those conditions, teams go for intermediate tires. Another important thing to remember is that in every race, each team has to use at least two different tire compounds. So let's say a team has started the race on either medium tires, soft tires, or hard tires, but they will not be able to finish the race on that particular tire compound. They have to change the tires at least once and go on to a different kind of tire compound. Otherwise, they will be disqualified. But these rules only apply to dry race weekends. So, where does this tire change happen? It happens at the pit lane. So, what is the pit lane? Well, we can call the pit lane the home to all the F1 teams, where they change tires, they serve penalties, or they make any repairs to the cars if needed. To change tires, drivers need to come to the pit lane, and this is called a pit stop. And to change tires, around 20 people work on a car, as you can see in the picture, to make the tire change happen as quickly as possible so that the team and the driver loses as less time as possible. But pit stops are not just limited to these tire changes, penalties, or making any repairs. They can also actually act as a strategic tool to gain an advantage over your rival. Throughout an F1 race, you will hear commentators using words like undercut and overcut. So, what are these? The undercut is a strategy where a driver pits unexpectedly early and uses fresher tires to try and get ahead of their rival who will have to pit later. The overcut, on the other hand, is a strategy when a driver delays pitting in order to gain track position when a direct rival pits. This way, this driver will be able to take advantage of the cleaner air in front of them and try to set faster laps so that when they eventually pit later, they will still come out in front of the direct rival. I know at this point this sounds too confusing and difficult, does it? Because it did to me. But trust me, once you start watching the races, slowly you will get a hang of these terms and will very easily understand what they mean. Well, since it's car racing, we also need to talk about overtaking, isn't it? Now, if you have a significantly faster car, you can very easily overtake the other cars. But there are also tools which have been designed particularly to help the drivers overtake their rivals. And one such tool is the drag reduction system, or DRS. So, DRS refers to an opening in the rear wing of an F1 car that lowers air resistance as the car speeds around the circuit. So, by reducing the drag, the car can travel faster than it otherwise would, which makes it easier for that car to close in and overtake another car. DRS, however, is only usable in certain designated zones of the tracks, especially the straight sections. And drivers cannot activate the system at any other point except those zones. And also, to benefit from the DRS, the car wanting to use it must be at least within 1 second of the car in front when they reach that DRS zone. Again, I know all of this must be too much of information and you must feel confused because, again, when I started, that was me. But as I said before, once you start watching races, this will become very easy for you to understand, and I'm sure you will start enjoying it as much as I do. Well, I think you must be wondering one thing. I've been talking so much about race weekends, overtaking, tires, pit stops, etc., etc., but I haven't talked at all about an F1 car. But that is because the whole concept is so detailed and interesting. I think I might need one more video to talk about it. The whole concept of how aerodynamics plays such an important role in designing of an F1 car is so beautiful, and I was absolutely amazed by it. Yes, it took me a lot of time to grasp it, but once I started understanding it, I was really amazed. But again, I think I won't be able to talk about all that in today's video. But if you like today's video and if you would want me to make a whole different video on how an F1 car works, I would love to do that. But I would also love to understand whether or not people would be interested to watch it. So if you are, please let me know in the comment section. And if I see that people really want to see it, I would definitely put an effort to make one such video. Was I even successful even this much to make you understand at least a little bit about F1? I would really, really love to know your feedback. And if there's anything that I've said wrong, because again, I am also learning, please feel free to correct me. But thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you soon in another video. But if you have not yet subscribed to my channel Offside Opinions yet, please do it today. And if you like today's video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and share it with your friends.